I saw that, and I'm not taking it personally.
Oh, don't.
Hi. John.
It's nice to have that flexibility.
All right.
Doe. D. I didn't quite catch them, like I have a bunch of does.
Great. How's this? Can everybody hear me all right? Yes. What's the right distance? About right here? Is that good?
Yeah.
That's too close. That's too far. All right, that's good. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Markowitz. I'm with Efficiency Vermont, Program Manager on Community Engagement. Happy to be here. What's really interesting is at the end of the, we do an evaluation survey after the workshops, after this conference, and not surprisingly, low income, working with low income and helping those people that are most impacted by the cost of energy comes right at the top for the last 2 years. And not surprisingly, we have a nice turnout here today. So it's an issue that we care about, and not surprisingly, because when you think about people who are hit hardest by energy prices, is people that are on the lower income side. And low income people use a lot of terms to define that. Typically in our place it's around 60% of median income, right? So a family of four, what is that, 45,000, right? What do you think, somewhere in there? Right.
A little bit higher, but
A little bit higher, you know, depending on what that is. Trying to make ends meet. And as you saw from the slide that Linda put up, sometimes people, depending on their income and what their situation is, they could be spending a third of their disposable income on energy costs, right? Biggest share of that, not home heating, it's transportation, right? Not such a big surprise there. We live in a very rural state. It's not like a lot of people have access to that public transportation. You want to get to work, go to groceries, you get in your car. What we also know is that typically people who are in the lower income spectrum of things are relatively more inefficient homes and inefficient cars. And their ability to move toward efficiency, you know, buy weatherize their homes, buy more efficient cars is somewhat limited, not surprisingly, because they're really just living on the margins. They're just making ends meet. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go out and buy myself a $25,000 electric vehicle. No problem, right? Now, there are a number of programs that are out there, for instance, working with helping make homes more efficient. You know, we have the Weatherization Assistance Program. We have Dwight Coster with Central Vermont, Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity. I always make CV, they got two of those. Champlain Valley Office of Economic Opportunity runs the Weatherization Assistance Program. It provides free weatherization audit and energy improvements on the homes for people. It's up to 80% of median income, but really, given their backlog and the list there, we're talking pretty much 60% and under. We have the LIHEAP, the Low Income Heat Energy Assistance Program, helps offset some of the cost we're paying for fuel. Right? So we have a few programs in that area. The utilities have a low-income discount kind of program. For people low income, you can get discounted rates. So there are a few programs. Part of the problem is they're oversubscribed, waiting list, the amount of money that's out there to help people weatherize their homes is basically less than what the demand is. On the transportation side, very little. We do have some public transportation opportunities out there, and there are a number of good workshops at the conference here to talk about that. But not so much you can do. If you're reliant, it's not an option for you. Not too much that we have out there to help offset the cost of the transportation. There are some innovative things going on around solar. I've heard some of those happening. I don't know the status in that. But we're dealing with a situation, you know, folks, what can we do? What can we do, you know, for folks that are just really making ends meet, spending a high percentage of their income on energy? You know, what can we do in our communities? And that's why you're here. What is the opportunity? And part of it is just making people know what the resources are that are out there, right? Weatherization Assistance Program, yeah, there's a year-long waiting list or whatever, get signed up. That means next winter, your house is going to be warmer. Get them on the list, right? Efficiency Vermont has a program called Targeted High Use. Kind of complements the weatherization assistance where we help pay for the replacement of inefficient appliances, kind of on the electrical side. Let's make sure people know what those resources are and they sign up for them. What we have today, we have 3 speakers, and really excited. They're talking about, well, these are some other things. This is what's being done. Here's how you might be able to participate. These are some other resources you might be able to promote in your community. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the speakers, and then I have a little cameo. Right before that, I'm going to ask Ryan Garrity with Efficiency Vermont to give a 2-minute talk about their zero energy modular program. So first we're going to hear from Scott Campbell. He's the director at 3E Thermal, which provides analysis and consulting services and cash incentives for affordable apartment housing through Vermont. Basically, we're talking multifamily housing, principally serving low-income people. 3E Thermal partners with the Weatherization Assistance Program, Efficiency Vermont, and other programs. It is funded by state thermal efficiency funds administered by Efficiency Vermont. So that's Scott. Then we're going to hear from Mike Evans, and I'm so glad Mike came all the way up from right below Campbell there. And then North Adams? Williamstown. All right, all the way Massachusetts. Come on, let's give it up for Mike traveling all the way up here, right?
Thank you for letting me in for the
He's the assistant director of the VECAN Center for Environmental Initiatives, and he oversees the Winter Blitz, a one-day student-facilitated community service home weatherization program in partnership with Bennington College and the Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. Imagine that, getting college students out there in the homes, helping people get their homes weatherized. It's pretty cool, right? And then we're going to hear from John Heath, and he is the Home Repair and Weatherization Director for Cover Home Repair, where he's managed the program for the past 5 years, and has weatherized hundreds of mobile homes and stick-built homes in low-income communities in the Upper Valley. So these are real programs making a real difference in people's lives and helping lower people's energy bills. So, before I get Scott up here, kind of between the time when we finalized this agenda and today, was like, whoa, here's something else. We should, there's a great opportunity that's coming up. People call it, it's called the Zero Energy Modular Home. How many people have heard about it? Made by this point, Vermont, right down the river here, right? Essentially, high performance home. Don't think about your, trailers and mobile homes that you know about. This is another whole ball of wax here. Affordable living for low-income Vermonters. So I'm going to ask Ryan to get up here and just quickly, 2 minutes, tell you about this opportunity, and then we have a sign-up sheet. If it's something you want to learn more about, maybe consider being involved in, this is something that's going to transpire in the next 2 years. There's an opportunity. So, Ryan?
Great. So thanks, Paul, for having me up for a few minutes. So my name is Ryan Garrity. I am currently a AmeriCorps member, and I work, as Paul said, on the Zero Energy Modular program at Efficiency Vermont. So basically the opportunity here is that we are currently in the process of making a portable Zero Energy Modular home that we're going to be going on the tour with all over Vermont and bringing it to different areas, different parks, and basically helping us to engage with different communities that we don't usually get to engage with. Typically we will build a home and put it in a park or put it in an area, and we will have open houses and do education in one particular isolated area. And this is going to help us to really just go around into areas, north and south, east, west, all over the place where we have never been before, and also be able to cover a lot more area in a short span of time. So basically, in the beginning of next year, we're going to be showing off this home very quickly, and we're going to be doing sign-ups for different people who want to host the home, who want to know a community that maybe would benefit from knowing more about these homes, from actually going in and seeing the home. We find that many people really change their views on these homes and what they perceive them to be when they're actually able to go inside and look at them. So if you have any interest in being involved in any way, if you're in a community, if you're on an energy committee, if you're in any, just, if you live in a community and you really think that this is something that people in your community would benefit from, please just come and talk with me, and I can also get you on our sign-up list. But yeah, this is a really great opportunity to really get people involved and to show people that you don't have to go into a manufactured home if you're low income. You can go into something that has no energy bills, that is comfortable and affordable. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's like, you walk in one of these and like, this is a mobile home? I mean, it blows you away. And that's the idea, it's like kicking the tires. People see it and it's like, whoa, this is maybe something for me. So there's nothing like replacing, it's like, it's an idea versus actually seeing it and being one and like, I might consider this. And we just want to get them in the door. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Scott. Scott, hopefully I got the right one up here.
I hope so.
I don't know, he put two up. I'm like, okay, I'll pick one here. So
Thank you, Scott. He's not the one that said outtakes. Wow, this looks terrible, doesn't it?
maybe that's the first one. Let's try to get the next slide.
No, yeah, well.
Will it go?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
It's
it's the font thing. You gotta download fonts. Okay. So I'm Scott Campbell. I am the director of 3 Thermal, which is a program that works with owners of affordable apartment housing all around the state. And what we do is get involved with owners when they're doing a project on the building. Oh, just too far away, sorry. You wanted to hear me. And so these are affordable apartment houses, and we've worked with about 350 buildings since 2009, 2010 when we got started. In the aftermath of the fuel price hike, we all remember fuel prices went about double in 2008. Everybody freaked out. How especially nonprofit owners of the housing agencies, how were they going to be able to get through the winter? And one of the responses was to use some of the money from RGGI, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, to fund this program for apartment housing. So apartment housing is really, apartment housing stock is really an investment, a public investment in low-income housing. And so that's how this program got started. And as I mentioned, we're working around 350 buildings, over 2,600 apartments through the end of this year. So these are for low-income people in these apartments. We work with the weatherization program as a partnership. We work with Efficiency Vermont. Money is now flows through Efficiency Vermont, so we work very closely with them. We also do the electrical efficiency measures that they would ordinarily do on any project, like fixture replacement and Appliances.
appliances. Yes, well, appliances. That's really through the weatherization program. But I'm thinking of ventilation, heat recovery, ventilation, that sort of thing. Let's get off of this slide. There we go. This is just a summary of the programs that are available for utility efficiency. You all know about the weatherization program, I'm sure. My background is as a weatherization director. I used to be in Dwight's seat many years ago. Before that, I worked in construction and building design and worked in energy efficiency on my projects. Let's see, so the Weatherization Assistance Program, Efficiency Vermont has numerous programs. Burlington Electric offers the same programs in Burlington. Electrical efficiency and a number of other programs. Home Performance through Energy Star is not really a low-income program, but it's one of the programs that they offer for people who can afford to pay for it. Vermont Gas also works with CVOAO and has their own 4-fee services where they provide incentives, but the owner has to provide the bulk of the funding. And 3 Thermal is organized as an incentive service. We don't work in the same way that weatherization does, in that weatherization will go do an assessment and then send in crews or hire contractors to actually go do the work. We work with owners more as a consulting service.
So we'll do the assessment and make recommendations, develop a work scope, but the owner is responsible for hiring contractors and managing the work. We found that working with private owners requires quite a lot more management on our part than working with nonprofit agencies, housing agencies who typically have staff who can handle that. But private owners usually don't. They usually have jobs actually, and are working or handling their rental properties sort of on the side. Anyway, there are other local programs that you'll hear more about. NeighborWorks is quite big in Rutland County. Cover works in this area, and Winter Blitz, which I hadn't heard of before talking with what's your name again, Mike? Earlier. So just to give you an idea of the scale of the opportunities. That's showing up. Okay. Around 250,000 households in the state. Something like 75,000 of them are rentals, and of those, maybe 43,000, 44,000 are what we refer to as affordable apartment housing. That means, in my parlance, less than 80% of area median income. That's sort of the housing world's definition of affordable. And in weatherization, as Paul mentioned, they typically focus on even lower income because of the waiting list. Those are the people who usually get served. Anyway, around 70% of the affordable housing is owned by private owners. Might be small mom and pop kind of owners, or there are some larger private affordable housing owners around the state, and we've worked with all of them. So just to give you a sense of the different kinds of projects we work on everything from small buildings like this. This is a brick building, a downtown building in Barrie, another one in White River Junction that has a cartoon school on the first 2 floors. Development, 3-story buildings in Northeast Kingdom. This is a full rehab project where they put on exterior insulation. Just all different kinds of projects. This is a high-rise in Rutland that was converting from electric heat. Another exterior insulation, and a building in St. Albans, Holy Angels. All different kinds of projects. So our services, just what we can provide to owners is analysis of fuel history. We'll go into an energy audit and diagnostics, including blower-door tests and infrared scans and that sort of thing. We will model the heat loss of the building and come up with an assessment of the potential and where to invest money. Develop a work scope, make some design recommendations. A lot of these projects have, especially for the nonprofit housing agencies, are sort of rehab situations, and there's architects, there's engineers. The earlier we can get involved in the project, the more impact we can have in terms of providing our services, our consulting services, and also providing more effective incentives. We can so we set up relationships with some with VSECU and VEIC for financing referral. We'll help with developing specifications and review bids. This is really important. Progress inspections. One of the things that we found, we've done a little bit of analysis after we've done projects to see, well, how did the energy usage after the retrofit was done compared to what we thought it was going to be. And this is what's called oh gosh, what do you remember? It doesn't matter what the name is, but anyway, it's a really important step, and it helps you figure out, sort of what the patterns are. So one of the things we discovered was that, ventilation is a really big issue, and especially in bigger buildings where we're sort of required to put in ventilation that satisfies current ventilation standards. And if we do that, and we put in exhaust-only ventilation, it can be a really big impact on the heat loss in the building and consequently the cost of running the building. Another thing we found out was paying attention to the work that's being done as it's being done, going and looking at the project in construction is also a huge and very time-consuming and difficult task. I mean, it's one thing to convince the owner that this is the scope that they ought to do. It's one thing to get the architect to put it in the specs, get contractors to bid on it. It's another thing to get the people who are actually putting the work, doing the work and doing the installation to actually do it. So progress inspections is really important. And then, of course, we'll do a final inspection and a blower door test at the end. So the benefits, typically we work on projects where the owner is paying for the heat. So these are larger buildings mostly, and it's really the most effective way of heating larger buildings, even though it makes sense to get people to pay for their own heat when you can, because, gee, if they've got, something in there's sort of a wall along the line, they're going to be more efficient with their use of heat. That's true, but in larger buildings, individual heating systems is a maintenance nightmare for owners. So central heating is really makes more sense. And the benefit, obviously, for owners is if we're doing this efficiency work effectively is lower costs, lower carrying costs. But for tenants, obviously, safety and health and comfort are all big. Are all big issues. The lower maintenance and improved durability for owners and lower turnover are benefits for owners even if they're not paying for the heat. And this is something that we're working hard on trying to communicate to owners whether they're paying for the heat or not. A lot of challenges with this kind of work. For owners, it seems like an onerous paperwork process, and we've worked really hard to try to make it as streamlined as possible. We partner with weatherization programs, so we've tried to combine the paperwork processes as much as possible, but it's still daunting. Financing, obviously, is another issue. We only pay part of the cost, and we pay it as incentives to the owner after the work's been done. So they have to get the bulk of the money together, either through financing or through their reserves funds. Working together with other programs, this has actually been a large program, a large problem not problem, I guess I should say, because we've worked with partners very well. But as we got started, we were, back in 2009, 2010, we were sort of a new program, the new kid, and we were working with existing programs, weatherization and efficiency Vermont and housing agencies, and there was a certain amount of getting people out of silos in order to be able to work together, and it's been a process, but I think we've made a lot of progress with that, and that was an issue. Let's see. The buy-in of the owners and designers and contractors. That takes a lot of talking, a lot of meetings, and coordination with other programs, as I say, is an issue. So what are the typical opportunities that we're working with, just sort of on a technical level, not programmatic, but more in the buildings? The obvious things are air sealing, especially at the top of the building and at the bottom of the building. So at the attic plane and at the cellar and sill, and intersections between those surfaces. Continuous wall insulation is a great thing where if the owner, if part of the project is replacing the siding, then that is a huge opportunity to put on exterior continuous insulation, and it makes a huge difference. Mechanical upgrades is another thing that we work with owners on. We've started to do some work with cold climate air source heat pumps. A lot of our projects in the last couple of years have utilized biomass, pellet boilers. And one thing that we really push, because of what we learned about the costs of exhaust-only ventilation, we're really pushing balanced ventilation, heat recovery, or energy recovery ventilation. So I just wanted to give you a couple of projects that we've worked on, just to give you a sense of the work. Now, the title of this session is Working with Low-Income Owners or Low-Income People to help them experience the energy transition, something like that. And what I was thinking of as I was looking at that was, well, transition to what? Transition away from fossil fuels to electricity and to biomass. So I selected a couple of projects where we've worked with owners to do
Scott,
that.
about 2 minutes, okay?
2 minutes?
3.
All right, quickly. So this is a 4-story building in Randolph, no, in Northfield. And this building, oh my gosh, this building was unbelievable. Oil, steam, heat, and hot water, 13,000 gallons a year through these boilers. It's very leaky. I don't know if people have any sense of air changes per hour, but this was at 8.7, which, and we're shooting for something like 3 or 2. We replaced it with, worked with the owners to design a system that included, we provided actually some engineering funding also, so that the owner could get this pellet system designed and installed, converted all the distribution to hot water, put in a heat recovery ventilation. So this was 24 apartments, almost 17,000 square feet. And of the $420,000 in project costs, this was only energy. So there was no sort of retrofits or bathrooms, none of that stuff. This was just an energy project. Anyway, of that amount of money, we were able to provide around $80,000. These are all round numbers too. In incentives, weatherization came up with another $42,000, and the Clean Energy Development Fund provided another $21,000 towards biomass. Left the owner was still a $250,000 project, over $250,000 project, but they were thrilled. And actually, you should have a look at the video on our website at some point. This is a Richmond Terrace in Richmond. When we were looking at this project, one of the tenants or residents had this photo that he wanted to show me. And I said, wow, let me take a picture of that. And this is what it looks like now. There was a lot of air leakage in this place. This was 6.7 ACH 50. It was oil, heat, and hot water. And we converted it to air source heat pumps. This was the first project that we were involved with that included air source heat pumps. Terrific savings. Air sealed the attic. The attic was just, well, you wouldn't believe. I don't have any pictures of it to show you, but there were all kinds of air bypasses and fiberglass that had been moved in order to work on mechanicals and wiring and whatnot. It was just amazing. So I didn't mention the saving. The other one was over 50%. This one is almost 60% the predicted savings, and cost savings somewhere around 38%. So one of the things Paul asked me to do was to give you an idea. What can you do now? What can you do with this information? The first thing we need to know about, if you have apartment buildings in your town that you're wondering how you can get them involved in this program, we need to make sure that it's a qualifying project. That is typically when an owner is doing a project anyway. So when the owner is doing some renovations, and that happens when they have money. So they've got purchase money, they just purchased the property, or they're doing a refinance, a resyndication, or they need major repairs, like replace the roof, replace the boiler, something like that. Those are opportunities. We will do a walkthrough. So once we've established that this is the kind of project we can get involved in, and usually that's just a phone call, we'll go do a walkthrough and just see what the opportunities are. After that, we'll do the energy audit, the work scope recommendation. We'll meet with the owner and tell them what they should include in their specs. We'll review bids with them and review contracts, and then we'll do an agreement in order to sort of summarize everything and provide a commitment on funding. So that's really it. We are a statewide program, as I mentioned. I work out of Capstone Community Action in Central Vermont, and the funding, as I mentioned, also comes primarily through Efficiency Vermont, although we have had other funders in the past, and we coordinate with the weatherization program. So the other things that you can take away from this are advocacy you can do with your state representatives and legislators around, well, one thing is carbon pricing, something that I've talked about many times, and I talked about when I was campaigning last year, which I got killed about, but it's really time that we talk about it. Another thing is, I think you may have heard about a bond that is being discussed to provide sort of a jumpstart to the weatherization program, and that's something to advocate for. And then the other thing is just referrals to our program. And we have a table upstairs with a lot of brochures and cards, so let us know.
Thanks, Scott.
Morning. Morning. I'm Mike Evans from Massachusetts, Williams College. I work in our Zilka Center for Environmental Initiatives. It's our campus sustainability office. And I'm going to be talking today about our Winter Blitz program, a program that is in its 10th year, that I inherited when I got there. That's really a student-driven program. And the goals of my talk today are to share information with you about the program, talk about how it works, be transparent about what I think the program's strengths and areas for improvement are, and help you think if this is an initiative you might want to coordinate in your community. I'm just going to put a timer here on myself. Great. Okay. So just a little background. Williams College is a liberal arts institution, about 2,100 students, about a little over 1,000 employees. In Williamstown, we're the northwest corner of the state. Pownell's 5 minutes north. New York State's 5 minutes to the west. We're about 20 minutes from Bennington. And really our connection with Bennington College is the reason that I'm here today speaking at this conference. Our Zilka Center, we have 3 full-time staff, which at colleges in the last 10 years, campus sustainability offices have really been coming into fashion. But most offices have 1 or 2 staff. We feel lucky that we have 3 staff. I'm the assistant director. We have a sustainability coordinator who's really student-facing, and our director has been at the college for about 10 to 12 years. We think about and work on energy emissions, waste, food, green buildings, transportation, landscaping, and we really think about sustainability as it intersects with social justice and environmental justice. And when we run a first-year orientation program with our multicultural center on campus that explores the issues of how sustainability, social justice, and identity intertwine, really trying to make the case that sustainability is something that we all have to think about. Climate change is something that we all have to think about, as we know. So that's a little background. We have a lot of great photos from Winter Blitz, so apologies, or you're welcome. You're going to see a lot of photos throughout this presentation. So Winter Blitz is a one-day home weatherization community service program, trying to think about how we can get the most students engaged and not ask for a ton of their time. We think about thermal comfort, increasing thermal comfort to folks whose homes we're weatherizing, lowering their energy costs, thinking about emissions reduction, and also thinking about student engagement and education for the students who are volunteering through our program. And also about the community cohesion, connecting our students to community members and often elderly members who are really looking to have a connection with people in the area and young people. The work that we do, as I'll get into, is by no means a replacement for serious installation work. So we're training students the week before. They're going to those homes, they're getting trained by experts, but we look to figure out how we can continue partnering with organizations in the whole region who are doing more serious work. And these homeowners that we're helping are homeowners who haven't yet made connections with those organizations who can give them more installation work. So a little bit about our service area. It's greater northern Berkshire County, focusing on Adams, North Adams, Lanesboro, low-income population in Williamstown, Pownell, and then 2 years ago, so this is my third year at the college, 2 years ago, our student leaders, we hired co-directors, said, Mike, I don't know, I think we've tapped out all the homes in the area. And I said, really, okay. Let's put out a press release and just see. None of the papers right near us picked it up, but Bennington Banner picked it up, and our students, 3 days later, were like, Mike, we've had 100 phone calls, we can't manage this and do our schoolwork at the same time. And so he said, wow, that's interesting. There is a need. So we called Bennington College and said, let's partner. You all willing to work together with us? We had a relationship with MCLA, Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. And this year, the relationship was the strongest one that we've had. Bennington College was there with us planning from the beginning of school, and it was great. So student leadership. There are two images here. One is from a slideshow before my time here, thinking about how they thought about it then. And this is the other image of the gray is how we think about our leadership now. There are strengths in this model, and there are lots of weaknesses in this model. So Zilka staff, that's myself. We have 3 student co-directors who are all graduating seniors, and so there's a challenge in and of itself, bringing in a new round of folks. A planning committee of other students, team leaders who get trained that day or in previous days, and then additional volunteers. So it's really a train the trainer model, and train the trainer, and again. And that is wonderful in terms of student empowerment and engagement. And it's like a game of telephone that sometimes they lose. Our volunteers sometimes end up at houses and then they're calling saying, wait, what was that again? So, our supplies, what weatherizing our volunteers do. It's listed up there: caulk, spray foam, weather stripping, hot water pipe wrap, light bulbs, window kits, aerators, shower heads, and gaskets. We've partnered with the Center for Eco-Technology, who's a great partner based out of Pittsfield and Northampton, to do training with our planning committee. Sometimes they're training in person. This year they put together a video for us, which was hugely helpful, that we then showed to all of our leaders, and they've been an invaluable partner with us. So, a little bit, we're going to run you through the day's agenda. So, this is the morning of. At 7:30, our 3 co-directors and myself get there, start doing a lot of setup. Our team leaders arrive for training and lots of coffee and lots of donuts. The rest of our volunteers arrive, transportation arrives, and they head off all over the region with supplies and lunch. Sometimes rakes, when they're waiting to be picked up by their vans, they're doing other things around the house. Volunteers work on homes in the community from 11 to 2. Teams return mid to late afternoon, and then there's a gathering at the end of the day with a pizza party celebrating the work that's been done. So when you think about our student engagement, we're really thinking about reaching beyond the choir. We have students who come to us because they're interested in community service and community engagement. We have students in our environmental groups who are excited about weatherizing and excited about fighting climate change. We bring people in, lots of first-year groups and lots of groups, sports groups saying, do this, this is a great team building activity, it's only a half a day of your time, come do it. So emphasizing the team building aspects, our students are thinking about and doing all this work, the communication to recruit volunteers. This is a little bit about our participation. You can see it ebbs and flows over time. I mean, one of the challenges at a college is you have turnover with your students and turnover with our student leaders. So this year our students were scraping for our 24 houses and working hard to get those houses, and also our 90 volunteers. And then you look back to 2011, I think it is, they had 207 volunteers and 40 houses, and it's wonderful. And you know, how can we sustain that over time? And maybe with a college, it is going to come in fits and starts. So the total, I was doing the back of the envelope calculations, volunteers about 1,400 over 10 years, and houses 320. So when you think about our strengths of our program, it's student exposure to weatherization techniques, student leadership opportunities, community engagement opportunity. We really pull people in by saying you're going to help with the comfort of low-income people in the community, and elderly populations who couldn't do this without you. And that speaks to them, and that's really important, and it's true and it's authentic. As I mentioned before, Center for Eco-Technology, our partnership with them is invaluable. They're bringing in skills that we don't necessarily have in-house, and we're continuing to think about, do we bring them in more in different ways? And our partnerships with other colleges. I mentioned our partnership with Bennington College this year was great. As we look for our next round of co-directors at Williams College, I'm not sure if they're there, they might be, but we have a lot of Bennington folks who are leaning in and are really excited and have done it the last few years. We're excited about that possibility. We used to call it in our press releases Williams Winter Blitz, and we scrapped the Williams part because it doesn't matter if it's our program or if it's a collective program. We just want to get the work done. As I mentioned, Community Cohesion, one of our co-leaders came back after Winter Blitz and said, Mike, I am having, we weatherized Joyce's house. Joyce is 91 years old, lives in Williamstown. I'm going to go over and help her decorate her Christmas tree, and I'm going out to coffee with her next week. Hugely important in terms of that relationship building. Yes, that's good work they did on the house, but that's also, there's sometimes that divide in a college town where there's the town-gown divide, and students connecting to real people outside the college is hugely important, and the opposite is really true as well. We've done some phone calls. Bennington College has done some phone calls on evaluation, has gotten great feedback from the homes they've called. I've been trying to call Joyce to talk to her. We're also our office is working on some audio storytelling projects, so trying to create a story about Divya and Joyce's connection through Winter Blitz. And our partnerships. Oh, and one that I haven't mentioned yet, the buckets on the top of this slide, called Sand for Seniors. And whenever I say that to our students, they're like, senior class? I'm like, no, senior citizens. So Williamstown Community Chest does this program, getting sand to seniors for their icy steps. And we, this is like, why weren't we doing this before? But they came to us and said, hey, when you go to your homes, can you take these buckets and give them out? And we said, sure, that's like so easy. What a win. So we did that this year with all the homes that we went to. Challenges and opportunities. So I inherited the program, and I found that we weren't keeping track of the supplies that we installed. Whoops. So now we're doing that and trying to collect data and making sure that we can talk about it on the other end. Besides just that it's good work that's being done, we need to measure that. So I have some numbers, but I'm not confident enough in them to explain them to you. But that's something that they're student projects. As an institution of higher education, excited to have students work on that and talk to them about the value of doing those projects. As I mentioned, the train-the-trainer model is great in some ways. All these students had wonderful opportunities and experiences training their fellow students. But we also got feedback, and have gotten feedback from them that I think it would be more beneficial to have Center for Eco-Technology at the training day of, helping with that, in addition to the training that they do ahead of time. And that seems like saying that now, of course we should be doing that, but it's trying to find that right balance between student empowerment and bringing experts in deeper into the process. The fact that it's a one-day event is also a challenge. I think we get a lot of student volunteers because they only have to commit for those 4 to 6 hours, but we only can do that many houses, and sometimes we have a waiting list that we just don't get to. We're trying to figure out, will we scale that up? We have a partnership with an MLK initiative in town. They're going to do some more weatherizing in January. You know, is that too late? It's never too late, but could we do more if it was a multi-day event? Would be great. We're also thinking about a spring blitz, going back out to take down window kits and store them at houses if people can't do that themselves. That seems to make a lot of sense and would be another connection point for our students and community members. All right, so you might be interested in Winter Blitz in your community. You could think about what experts do you have in the area that you could partner with, and what source of volunteers. If you have a college nearby, connecting with the community service department is great, or the sustainability office. There might be a great fit there. We're also I'm going to have a student working in the spring on creating a toolkit that can be shared widely with other folks in the region and in the country for how to replicate the Winter Blitz model and improve upon it. So if you're interested in that, come up to me afterwards and I can put you on a list for when that's finished. I can send that along to you. Thanks. I think we're going to do questions at the end. Thanks a lot.
My name is John Heath. I'm the home repair director at Cover Home Repair. Cover's mission is to foster hope and build community. We do this by bringing together volunteers, homeowners to complete urgently needed home repairs and facilitate reuse of household goods and building materials. Cover is, we're based out of White River Junction in the old Catamount building. The organization was started about 17 years ago by a couple of Dartmouth students. And we're going out and cutting firewood for folks and realized that there was a lot more need in the community as far as home repair and weatherization. So they started a grassroots organization to take college students and other volunteers and actually do these repairs and the weatherization. And 17 years later, we grew. We have trucks and a store and many other large staff. So in our program, we have the home repair program, and that deals with mostly urgent home repair, and that fits under a large category. It could be a leaky roof, floor repair, structural repair. We work on a lot of mobile homes that often need, have a lot of deferred maintenance and a lot of older homes. And then our weatherization program, which I'll talk about. And then we have our store, which deals with, we sell used building materials and household goods. And the store benefits the program because of the funds help pay for the program, but it's also a really good service for people who don't want to bring their stuff to the dump, and it has a source that it can be reused and resold. And it's also a really good source for folks who can't afford to buy that new couch or whatever. We also work with several local organizations with the voucher program. So if you need a couch and you can't afford it, you can come to get it for free. As far as basic household goods, we also deal with a lot of appliances, which are a real important part of that. Our sort of the overview of our program is we want people to be safe, warm, and dry. Our funding is through donations, private donations, and grants, and from this, and also proceeds from the store. With our home repair program, we say free or low cost, and sometimes there are if the homeowner can afford to pay for materials, to whatever extent they're able to do that, we'll take those funds. Also, we work with a lot of organizations that will actually completely pay for materials. There's like Vermont Center for Independent Living. They will pay for the ramps we build, and also there's several other organizations who will help fund those. Are you eligible? We look at household income, and we are somewhat flexible with that. It is 180% of the poverty level, which is quite low. That's somebody on Social Security, you know, with $900. It's hard to imagine living off that. When we evaluate that, we also look at costs. So perhaps somebody has a little bit higher income, but they have medical costs or some other circumstance that they're spending more than they have. So we're somewhat flexible with that. We're not a government organization, so we don't really have to adhere strictly to that. So sometimes it is a bit of a judgment call, but it's nice to be able to be flexible, because no one can be fit in the slot with what they can afford. Everybody has unique situations. The urgency of the project, and as I said, we're looking at allowing people to stay in their own home. So we address a wide variety of things. As I said, leaky roofs. We do a lot of fall risk for people to stay in their own homes. We build a lot of access ramps, do a lot of entry stairs, grab bars, and also we also get into some of the trades. We have several plumbers and electricians, volunteers, that come out and address some of those issues. It doesn't do much good to put a handrail up a set of stairs if the light switch doesn't work and you have to go up in the dark. So we find that we try to really look at the home holistically and address all the safety needs to allow people to be safely in their homes. And willingness of the homeowner to get involved, and this fills into a lot of things. It's sort of like the community involvement is really important with our work. So the homeowners, if family or friends are able to come out and help do the work, since we're all volunteer-based, that's sort of the ideal situation. We always ask the homeowner to supply lunch, and then we all sit down and have lunch together during the workday with the volunteers. If the homeowner, as I said, can join in, that's great. And it's what we're trying to do is try to make those personal connections and not be so much of a service connection that the volunteers actually feel connected. You know, we sort of look at giving people the opportunities, both the homeowners and the volunteers. Someone had said once that it's not often that we can bring a dentist from Hanover to a mobile home down in Charlestown and have them spend the day together. So those connections are really important for our work. Location, we travel about 45 minutes from White River Junction, and going down the interstate south, we're going to both sides of the river. We're from Vermont and New Hampshire. So down to Springfield, up this way, even further north than here, over in the Randolph area, and then into